Temp check. What kind of summer are we having this year? A family road trip summer? A beach bum summer? Or a wake me up when the sun sets summer? With Instacart, choose your own adventure and skip the shopping side quests. Where available, you can get ice cream delivered to your hotel, sunscreen to the pool, or cold brew to your bed. Well, door, in as fast as 30 minutes. Wherever you find yourself this summer, you can get the goods. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
Achieving a gorgeous grin from home isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all of your sleuthing friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
This summer, get away in the Hyundai you've always wanted at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Get the hottest deals of the season on many of our award-winning Hyundai models, which all come with America's best warranty. But get going, because these deals won't last. Add more joy to your journey at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Now for a limited time, get 1.99% APR for 60 months on the Hyundai Tucson or Elantra. Hurry into the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Offers end September 3rd. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Jonathan, and Isaac. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. And if you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group, where we'll be hanging out daily.
Thank you for tuning in to Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week, Paige made us watch Hostel Part 2. This time, it's more hostelier.
This time, it's actually less hostelier, but also,
okay,
I think a better movie.
Let's talk about it, Paige.
Let's talk about it.
And so much as that, like, we should, because we have a podcast.
That's why we're here.
But I do think it's less torture porny than the original.
I agree. I think it's got more of a story.
Even though someone's dick full gets snatched and fed to a dog. Like, I do think that is, wow, out there, but probably less graphic than the first one.
Todd, I realized as I was watching this, I had forgotten about the dick snatching in this movie.
How?
And last week I made a joke about making the theme of this month removing dicks, completely having forgotten that it was in this movie. And I was like, no, we couldn't find a bunch more movies where people lose their dicks. And then I accidentally did. So you know what? Summer vacation. Dickless summer vacation.
Everybody lose your dick. Guys, seriously, she cuts his dick off in this movie.
Yeah, she does.
This movie takes you for a ride, though, because I was like, oh, shit, they're going to get out together. But
nope.
No. That shit turns real quick.
I had forgotten that too. And then like, as it was like they were shooting up, I remembered, I was like, oh shit, no, the other guy chickens out and this guy turns out to be a stone cold fucking murderer.
Yeah. Everybody knew when that character's name was Todd that he was going to chicken out, Paige. Everybody already knew. Please. I was like, this guy's all bluster, no bite. I know another Todd when I see one.
I mean, these are the parts of this movie that I actually really like. I had not watched this in easily 10 years or more.
Right. Okay.
And I feel like it tries things that I think movies have since done way better. And I think we're looking at this movie through the lens of having seen, Fresh or, A Promising Young Woman or movies that are a little bit more feminist revenge. But there are things that this one does that I still really like. And for the time, there was nothing like it. And to center women in a torture porn in a way where one of them does turn the tables, but also in a movie where they kind of demonstrate how dangerous the world just is for women in general. I actually do still like this movie. I really enjoyed watching this today, actually.
Paige, I thought the flip at the end was going to be that when he pulls the bag off of Beth,
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be his wife, and it was going to be revealed that she, Beth, bid on him, and he was brought there to die because she is like wealthier than even Todd is, right?
Yeah.
She is so wealthy she could buy all of the country they're in. That's what the movie tells us, at least.
Right.
So like I thought that they were playing on like how there are multiple classes, you know, and he is firmly positioned as like maybe upper, but still like middle of class, like middle class, maybe on the higher end of it, right?
Yeah.
And she is like way above him. So I thought that was going to be the flip. It wasn't, and I was still sort of like good for her at the end.
Oh, yeah, good for her.
Because like, of course, snatch that dude's dick and feed it to a dog.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like at the end of this movie, as opposed to turning the tables in that way, I feel like the end of this movie has like a little tack on message to the good for her, where it's just like greed has no bedfellows. Basically, like capitalism is friends to no one.
Yeah.
And I do think that is a really interesting pull at the end of this movie.
It's not personal, it's business, Paige.
It's not personal, it's
I
business.
snatched yo dick because of business. It wasn't personal. Stu, or whatever your name was.
Stuart.
It was Stewart, I believe.
But you also know the second they cast that actor, you're like, he's going to be the villain.
Oh, is he like a known villain?
He always plays kind of like not a villain necessarily, but like that guy, like an angry rage guy.
The only thing I've seen him in other than this is the one episode of 30 Rock he did.
Oh, that's right. He was in 30 Rock, but he's also in The Producers, yes?
Is he? With like Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane?
Yeah. He's the assistant to the director, I believe. The one, he's having a stroke of genius.
Oh my God. No, he is. You're right.
Yeah.
I love this guy. He's actually, okay. No, I know who he is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, you've definitely seen him in stuff.
He was also in Tick, Tick, Boom. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And he's good in this. Like, he actually, like, has a lot of range to his character because he definitely seems like the guy throughout the movie who's like, man, will he or won't he kill this person? It's like reverse rom-com, but for murder.
Yeah.
And then, like, at the end of the movie, you're like, oh, fuck, I think he's, like, super into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In my mind, he represents an air quotes nice guy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But him and also the guy that would have only helped her if she danced with him. That's another one of those.
Oh, you mean one of the romantic interests from Fleabag season 1, Paige?
That's correct.
It's not him, but like,
It's not him.
if you've seen that season, you know what I'm talking about.
I do know, but that actor,
He's wearing flippers, Paige.
he is wearing flippers.
He definitely is wearing flippers, yeah.
His last name is Dimitriou because he's related to Natasha Dimitriou, who is on What We Do in the Shadows. They're like brother and sister.
No shit. Okay, cool.
And they're in stuff together all the time.
Awesome.
They're in Eurovision together.
Nice.
But yes, so a lot of good performances here. I don't hate the first Hostel movie. I know it rubs some people the wrong way. I understand. Your criticisms are valid. I don't hate it.
I mean, it is one of like the first like torture porny movies. Like, I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
because I guess Saw was probably the first.
They came out not too far apart, I think.
I honestly don't know.
Maybe a year or so.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, so don't hold me to it. And I can look it up.
2005.
Saw was 2004.
Yeah, so a year before.
Yeah, so but a lot of movies like that came out at this time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this movie came out a year after the original Hostel, and I honestly do think this movie's a little better than the original.
I think this movie's better than the original.
Which is so rare for sequels, and then for a sequel to come so quickly after the first one to be better than it. I was like, wow, okay. I mean, well done.
I mean, I will also tell you, again, I don't hate the first one. It has a story, which is my main criticism about most torture porn films, is that they focus too much on the torture porn and not about the story holding it together. Where, like, I'm willing to go on this torture porn ride with you if I have characters and a story where it's going to make a difference and be impactful within the movie. And I feel like the first Hostel does okay. I think Saw does a great job. I think Hostel does an okay job. I think the biggest complaint I have for Hostel is more that, like, oh, I would never do that, right? Like, the characters make choices that you're like, I would never. I do know people who would, but I would never.
I would never get in a boat with a stranger and go to a second water-based location. Mia Thermopolis' best friend is an idiot.
Oh, Heather Matarazzo. I think she's drugged, to be honest with you. I think because she only has that one glass of cider and then she is turntina'd.
I mean, yeah, maybe. That actually does sort of make sense, but it's terrible.
And they imply that they try to drug Beth and it doesn't work because she pours it out. So like,
Yeah.
I'll give her some grace there. But yeah, I feel like that's one of the things that this movie kind of fixes is that almost everyone else in this movie is not making those decisions. In fact, we see Beth intervene a number of times of like, no, you're coming home with me. You're coming.
Oh, yeah. Legit saves Whitney the first night, I think.
Yeah. I mean, well, maybe because we see that guy getting tortured, so he was a victim also.
Oh, that's true. I guess he wasn't in on it then because he was also getting killed. Yeah.
But we will see how many people in this town like are in on it. I also really like this. This movie gives us more behind the scenes of like
How it
this
all
thing
works. Yeah.
Who they are.
I thought that shit was cool too.
Yeah.
Even though it feels very like this movie takes place in the same universe as like the Marvel Blade movies.
A little bit.
Because like that many people cannot be involved in this kind of a conspiracy and not everybody know about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yes.
there's too many people involved.
How could you have children keeping secrets like that?
Right.
Like, yeah.
They do. They have like a murder Dodger and Fagin
Yes.
in this movie. If we're talking like Oliver, the kids from Oliver is very much like who that is, right?
Right.
God, but yeah, like it's crazy.
It's crazy. But so we get characters that I think make more grounded decisions. We get more backstory on like the world of Hostel.
Yeah.
And yes, we do still get some torture porny stuff. But I would say that a lot of the stuff we get in this one is kind of more unique. Instead of just like chainsaw, it's like, no. This is a very specific fetish that we're delving into.
Yes.
We're going to spend a lot of time seeing it. But like, it's not just, blood for blood's sake.
Not for nothing. We do see different reasons people do it.
Yes.
For some people, it is like the fetish side of it. For some, there was just one really rich environmentalist in there we got to see.
Yeah, that's right. Eating Victor Crumb.
Just carving off a piece of thigh.
Yeah, carving up Victor Crumb's legs. Yeah. And so I feel like I remember the first time I saw this being like, oh shit, did I like this? Like genuinely like this movie?
I like how you like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I liked an Eli Roth movie.
And I watched it back to back with the original and I was like, oh shit, I liked both of these. And here's the thing. I have liked multiple movies that Eli Roth has touched, especially as a producer. I think he makes good producing choices. But in watching this today, I was like, oh, this is why I like Fresh. Because Fresh is a lot like this in a way. It's a funnier version, but like a lot of the same beats or similar vibes happen. So if you're someone who has avoided Hostel 2, but you really liked Fresh, you might actually like Hostel too.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but like you might. I'm just saying.
I think it's definitely the better of the two.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would have liked it more if she wasn't rich as shit and got out some other way.
Sure.
Although it is kind of baller for her to be rich as shit and to flip the script on him like that,
Yeah.
So like, I like the moment, although I don't love it for the metaphor, because then it is still just like, oh, I guess the ultra rich still do just kill the lower classes, even if those lower classes can also kill a class below them. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's the one part that's a little shaky for me. Although, I mean, I feel like if we tried to cram any more info about it to make us feel better about it, we'd be stretching the time limits of this movie, because this movie is a tight 97 minutes and is paced beautifully. And I find no faults. The rich part, I think, I'm still okay with the metaphor of capitalism has no friends, because I think that's more what we see. And I'm okay with that.
I think that absolutely holds. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm kind of okay with that. I, again, wish she could have gotten out another way, but we also saw what happened to the guy that got out in the first movie.
Yeah.
So there is this element for me of like having, like it making strange bedfellows of like, she has to kind of deal with the devil to make sure she's safe and to get revenge. And so I think part of that is that's the world they've created, and there's no way they would let her out of the goodness of their heart, because that's not who these people are. And so we have to kind of live in the realism of the movie of like, money is the only thing that would get her out. Yeah. Realistically.
I mean, safely, without her having to kill literally everybody between her and the front door.
And what are the odds of that actually happening? Like that, and even the guy from the first movie, who we see at the beginning of this movie, he doesn't make it out unscathed. Like, dude is beat to shit. And then he also ends up, spoiler in the first scene of this movie, great cold open, he dies. So like once you're out, you're not safe because they have to keep it a secret. So her only way out was to play their game and play it better.
Paige, I'm only laughing because at the beginning of this movie, it sets it up like it's going to be his movie. Like,
Yes.
he's going to go back and get revenge. And then when they show how, I mean, because we don't see him die, we just see it like he was eating his Cheerios and his head got blown off at breakfast. But like, it just shows her coming downstairs and showing like what is largely just a mannequin with tomato soup poured where the head should be. And I was like, am I supposed to assume that that's him? Was he signed on for like a whole ass movie and then he got canceled and they had to pivot? Like, what happened?
No, I think it was always meant to be this.
Oh no, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
But it really sets it up like it's going to be his kind of movie, you know? I'm just saying they really sold you that it was going to be his movie until it's revealed he's dead. And then it's like, oh, it's a whole new story. Cool. It's like the beginning of Iron Eagle 2 is all I'm saying, Paige.
Yes, absolutely. Except I've never seen Iron Eagle or Iron Eagle 2.
Hold on to your butt. I mean, Paige.
There is a very brief reference to one of my new recent faves that Blaine was watching on Instagram just a couple days ago. And we DM'd about. And then when I saw this movie, I was like, oh, haha. And I will bring it up when we get to it because I was it was one of those things where I was like, I see you, Eli Roth. I see you.
I see the slow, subtle hand of Eli Roth throughout pop culture.
Well, it's one of those things that it's clearly an inspiration for this series, even though it's not a torture porn or anything like it in itself. But to know that that is clearly in the back of their head as they're making this movie made me laugh quite a bit.
I mean, I don't know what we're talking about, so yeah.
When we get to it, I will tell you. And I don't think you've ever seen this movie, but you'll have a homework assignment to watch it later.
Is it Maxine?
No, I haven't seen Maxine. I really want to.
The only reason I bring it up is because the whole theme of the dick snatching, I think that might happen in Maxine because of something a listener said to me.
I mean, if anyone's going to snatch a dick, it's Maxine. I feel like that's in her character. But no, because A, Maxine did not exist when this movie came out, so they could not reference it. But also B, it's in the theater, so we can't do it. So like we have to wait till other people can watch it still. Facts. No, it's not even a horror movie, to be honest with you.
Oh.
No, you would really fucking like it, by the way. It's a wild movie that I'm excited to talk about when we get to it.
This is the longest tease of any, like, are we going to talk about it in this episode?
Yeah.
It's never going to live up to this hype.
In fact, no, it will, because I'm going to pause and make you watch one clip from this movie. And then we just need to hear your reaction, and it will be worth it.
Okay. I guess we'll figure out how to produce that section of the podcast later on.
No one else has to hear it. We will just tell them what you saw, and you'll be excited about it.
Oh, man. Paige, is there anything else we need to talk about before we get into it?
No, I think we should just get into it.
Oh, Paige, before we get into it, so sorry. How much did Beth go for?
Ooh, we never see a final amount.
So I got the vibe just because the numbers they were showing us and at the tempo at which that auction scene ended, that it ended somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000.
That's where my brain's at, yeah.
I'm going to be pissed if I don't fetch more than that. Are you serious? $100K? In today's economy, Paige?
In today's economy?
I'd be livid.
This is like my friend Ramsey's joke where he's like, did you hear about that lady that paid $5,000 to hire a hitman for her husband? I'm telling you, if you come to kill me for $5,000, I'll pay you $10,000 just not to kill me. Like, that's such a low amount. And I feel like 125, it's not enough. I'll be like, look, I'll call the bank and it may be a second mortgage on my house, but like,
we'll figure it out.
Double it. That's not enough. Well, and then when they go to sell her friend at a discount, she discounted is only like $1,000 or something like that, which is brutal.
Whitney got a head wound that's probably going to expire her life in the next 20 minutes. Like, she's probably going to die at that point. She damaged good.
She's damaged good. We'll talk about it when we get there because he doesn't actually cut her head. It's actually worse. And she would absolutely, unfortunately, live if someone did not kill her. So that's what's rough. It won't be pretty, but she could live through what happened to her if he did not absolutely slit her throat, because that happens later.
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure Stu kills her, right?
Stu kills her, yeah.
Yeah,
It's off screen where it's like you see him pull back in the security footage and then start the swing and someone steps in front of the camera. But it's implied that she is dead.
Yeah, of course she is.
One would assume.
Yeah. You know she's going to die in this movie when, like, she's sort of a bitch to Mia Thermopolis' best friend.
I know, but, and this is something that I actually do like about this movie. Is she kind of catty? Yes. But do they also give Heather Matarazzo a couple jabs back at her? Yes.
They do, yeah. And honestly, the last one, it seems like they're going to actually be friends after that.
Yes.
It's like oh my God, I now have a lot of respect for you for like stepping up because I was sort of being a bitch.
Yes.
Like I like that moment for them as like friends maybe going forward.
Oh, I think this movie very clearly sets them up as, yes, we're different, but we do get along and we're having a good time.
Yeah.
And I actually really appreciated that.
I mean, that was we're all in this together kind of moment.
They're slicing heads and cutting dicks off. Yes. Yeah. Again, pretty good movie.
I mean, yeah, I honestly think it's way better than the original.
Yeah.
Although I don't this is a scary movie for me. Like I had to pause it at some points and look at like dachshund memes on my phone.
I mean, I'm all in on JD Vance couch memes right now, but you do you.
Oof, so fucking weird.
So weird.
Sofa king. Weird. He fucked a couch, guys. That's what we're saying.
Well, he didn't actually. It's fake, like Ted Cruz being the Zodiac killer. But you know what? I loved that too. So
hang on, is he not
the Zodiac killer?
Ted Cruz is not the Zodiac killer.
I mean, allegedly.
Somebody owes me $5,000.
Because you hired him to murder somebody. Todd, you gotta value your investments more than that.
Ted Raphael Juan Caston Cruz, you owe me some money.
Yeah.
I used all of his names.
And some answers. I know. He has a lot of them.
He does.
Anyway, let's talk about this movie.
Oh, shit. Yeah, maybe we should just go through this movie scene by scene. My bad, guys. I'm sorry.
Yep. So we open with Quentin Tarantino Presents. Very fun. I think that's largely the producing arm of this movie, and it might be why it's better than the original, although I believe he was also partially involved in the original.
I think he was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But I don't, so don't hold me to that.
No idea.
But I do think he has a bigger hand in this one.
Yeah, potentially. I'm not 100%. I know that he liked the first one when it came out, and he is and has been a big Eli Roth fan. And I think this is one of the first times that they really, really worked together closely, as opposed to just kind of being fans of each other. We'll go into it a little bit more in fun facts. But yeah, I think that might be why this movie seems more fleshed out than the first one. But with the first one, you also have to remember, small budget. It was only like his second or third movie, his first movie being Cabin Fever. So I feel like now by the time he gets to this movie, he's got a little more oomph behind that name, and he could take some time and take some money to make it really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, we open on a guy unpacking a duffel bag by a fire and throwing all the personal effects into it, keeping the things that he wants, but throwing things like photos, passports, etc. into the fire.
This is just like the opening credits too. So we're seeing the credits and we're seeing this guy. He's just like destroying evidence.
Yeah.
Like I know this is Mia Thermopolis' best friend's like journal. It's her shit that he's burning in this.
I think it's her and Whitney.
I think it probably is.
But they cover the photo on the driver's license, so we don't know for sure.
Well, we probably don't know which ones it is, right? But it's definitely one of theirs.
Right. Or it could be a combo.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because I know the picture is definitely Whitney that they burn.
Oh, yeah.
The journal is Heather Matarazzo, or Lorna is her name in this movie.
Yeah.
But we open on the guy from the first movie, passed out on the train in a puddle of blood.
Yeah.
We cut to the hospital where he's taking meds and being interviewed by the police, where the police reveal themselves to be part of the group that works for the factory. But he wakes up and it is a dream.
Yeah. But it's like real scary because they cut him open and it's like real graphic. But it's a really long scene for it to have been a dream.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, that 10 minutes didn't happen in this 90-minute movie? Okay, let's go. What's going to happen next? Or not happen, maybe.
Or not. But it does set up one of, I think, the craziest parts of this movie, where he wakes up in bed next to his girlfriend and she's like, you've been home for however long, not long enough. And he's like, his grandma thinks he's still in Europe. I was like, So no one has checked.
Oh,
no one's heard from
Paige.
him for months.
I thought that was crazy. That he wasn't like, hey, your loved ones are dead.
Right.
Yeah, I would have told everyone immediately upon arriving back in the States.
Well, and he sets it up as the reason that he didn't is that these people have infiltrated all of the highest halls of everything and they would shut him up like a Boeing whistleblower. So maybe.
Which it's probably true. Sorry, that Boeing whistleblower shit, like, oof, it would be really funny if it wasn't really true, allegedly.
Just saying.
I saw literally a TikTok meme today that was like,
I sent it to you.
oh shit, that was you that sent it to me. That's right. Yeah.
That was me making off-color jokes.
Shit, it was great though. Very funny.
It was great.
Are you trying to get back at an ex?
Yes.
Report them as a Boeing whistleblower.
Whistleblower. Great. Stancy Potenza.
They'll be dead in days.
5 stars. Always hilarious. Anyway, but we reveal that his girlfriend has taken him to her grandmother's house, that like no one knows where they are except for the sister.
She's even like, I got lost getting here. Like I had to ask for directions and I've been here before.
Yeah, but she wakes up to the sound of a chainsaw the next morning and looks out the window and a guy's like chainsawing the trees and is like, good morning. And I was like, yo, unless you ordered an arborist and somebody's just at your house with a chainsaw, that's these people. That's the factory people. Like they're here to kill somebody because you have to pay people to come and cut trees.
I also think she should have known that was them when the person with the chainsaw was like cutting like the very tips off of like branches.
Yeah, just teeny tiny branches.
I was like, okay, this guy's not here to do that work. Like that is not what you use that chainsaw for.
No.
You could go and just snap those off with your hand.
Right. But no.
Nope.
Chainsaw. And I think he's just covering the sound of the chainsaw downstairs. I think there's 2 chainsaws.
I mean, we come to find out they are snatching his head in this moment.
Yeah.
One would assume, because when she comes downstairs, he's seated. He's still seated.
Yes.
They have taken his head and he has the best posture, Paige.
Yes.
I've never sat so straight.
Well, and his cat was like very proud of him for that posture. And that's why he was licking his neck wound.
As a cat owner, that is not accurate. I think half of the time I wake up, they're like, man, a few more hours and I would have come for them eyeballs first.
A few more hours, I would have licked through the skin.
I slept 10 hours the other night and I swear Peaches was like, I woke up and she had like a bib on and she had like utensils in her hand. She was like,
tiny forks.
Yeah.
See, so it's been a hot summer in Los Angeles, which means the La Cucarachas are out. And there was a big one in my house and I got scared and McCready killed it for me, or at least attempted to.
Hell yeah, McCready.
Yeah, I was like, you're my familiar now. But then he set it next to his food bowl to like warn others, like, what's up?
Let all those who walk here know.
No, I am McCready, vanquisher of cockroaches. But yeah, and then Jake had to throw it away. But McCready did the hard work, batted it around like a tiny cat toy until it died, I guess. Anyway, so we cut to Europe, generic Europe, because this movie might as well take place in Genovia. They say Slovakia, which I know people got mad about in the first one. But honestly, this could be anywhere. This could be fake Europe. Hey, it's Genovia. What's up?
It's very specifically fake Eastern Europe.
Yes.
It's not like France. Like France, Spain, UK, Germany, all of those places have like a vibe in Hollywood.
Yes.
Eastern Europe, which is, I think, sort of anything east of Germany in Hollywood's eyes, sort of gets lumped into like Slovakia, like that we see in this movie. Like it all is positioned. I'm not saying it is that way. I'm just saying that that's the way like Hollywood sees that region of the world,
Yes.
And then you hit Russia and that's a different vibe,
Well, but the thing that I think is really funny about this movie's depiction of Eastern Europe is that everyone is either Italian or Russian and nothing in between.
Right. Well, and I do think they actually leave Italy and take the train wherever they end up here.
They do. But that main evil guy, like the guy who owns the thing, because we meet like the owner, Sasha.
We do, yes.
He's in Italy at one point speaking Italian, and then he shows up and he's just like speaking Russian, and it's just like they can't decide. They're like, it's a mishmash of Italy and Russia, whichever suits us better.
Paige, this man operates at the highest levels of secrecy, the biggest organization for the auctioning and murdering of innocents. You don't think he can learn a second language, Paige?
Oh, no, I'm sure he can. I just think that whenever they want to portray someone as fancy, they're Italian. And whenever they want to portray them as evil, they're Russian. Because this was made in America in 2006.
Yeah, I mean, that is accurate.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter where they are on the map in the movie. If they're fancy, they're speaking Italian. If they're evil, they're speaking Russian. And I think that's pretty fun.
I really badly wish I could say thank you for coming to my TED Talk in Italian right now.
Grazie.
Because that's the most fancy thing I can think to say.
Is thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, my Italian was minimal at best to begin with. But yeah, I mean, I can't help you there, unfortunately.
I don't speak my former native tongue either. Because it's like 4 generations or 5 generations ago.
Well, I briefly learned some when I went to Italy, but it is all gone now.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Grazie. Anyway, so we cut to generic Europe,
Yes.
Genovia, where someone on a motorcycle delivers that first guy's head to Sasha, the main guy, with his dogs.
Yeah.
And he's just like, grazie. And he gives it to the dogs to sniff. But he's not going to let them have it because it has to go in his head closet later.
Why is the head closet off the guest bedroom? That seems like a terrible place to put your fresh heads.
Look, I mean, you can't always pick where the gallery in your house goes. Like sometimes the builder puts it somewhere and you just got to deal.
Paige, I feel like you could pick where your secret gallery goes, because that was like in a room behind a room. Like it was the closet, and then behind the closet is the walk-in headroom.
In my mind, that was his bedroom. Or her bedroom, and she's the one who retrieves the heads.
By her, do you mean Axwell?
Axel.
Yeah, Axel.
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 Yes.
The coolest name ever.
Which, okay, come on. There's so much axe imagery in this movie. Like, you know it's her the whole time.
Well, yeah, because she also looks like the girl from the last movie. I don't think they're trying to hide it. I think we always knew it was her.
They're definitely not.
Yeah.
I think the whole movie we're supposed to be like, oh, stupid girls.
Yeah, or like, no.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we cut to a figure drawing class in Italy. Have you ever taken a class like this, Todd?
No, I have not. I have gone to like a painting and wine sort of a thing with my girlfriend at the time, and we painted a picture of our cat and dog. But no, I've never like painted nude people.
I have. It's actually kind of fun. It really disconnects you from the shame of viewing naked figures, I would say. In a good way.
That's actually cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have not, it's not that I like wouldn't do it. I just haven't done it.
Yeah. I think most people don't think to do it. And I think everyone should try it at least once. But when I did it, they brought in it was like an 8-week class. And so we had different models every time with different body types, different ages, different skin tones, different everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it was honestly like really interesting to see it interpreted by a bunch of different people. But yeah, so if you get a chance to take a figure drawing class, do it. Or if you get a chance to model for one, do it, because it's not sexual at all. It is purely shape and form. And, you know, I talked to a couple of the models and they were like, no, it's actually kind of nice and freeing to like not think of your body in that way and to not think of it in the way that society sexualizes nudity, but to think of it as just shape and form.
Yeah.
So
that's so counter to the box that most of us were like born into though in this country. So like,
yeah.
I understand why that would be a hurdle for a lot of people, but it does sound like a cool thing. I have not done it though.
Yeah. I feel like everybody should do it.
Yeah.
That was the first time I saw like a person's penis, honestly. I was like 16 or 17 when I took this.
Okay. I was like, was this recently?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But we do sort of, because this is an Eli Roth movie, pick up the scene in the changeover from the male nude figure to the female nude figure.
Sure.
So we, of course, get that reveal in this scene as well. Because again, it's an Eli Roth movie.
I think that it's almost the movie telling us, we know what you think is about to happen, but we're doing this a different way, because we do get the male nudity, right? Because we have to establish Heather Matarazzo's character being kind of bashful and staring and whatever.
Right.
But in the changeover, we get a woman who looks very much like the women from the first movie. And the first movie, as you'll remember, is really, really, really steeped in this whole like hot girls, guys will chase hot girls. That's the whole movie. That's how they get them. Like, that's how they get them out of the hostel. That's how they do whatever. And in this, we're seeing a hot girl immediately. And it's like, oh, is this going to be that again? And then we do the reverse and we meet the other girls that we're going to be following, and it doesn't affect them at all. They don't care about this hot girl. They're not going to care about this hot girl. This is a different movie.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that, honestly.
I mean, it is different, especially for the time. It's very different for the time. Yeah, I get that.
Very different. And within minutes, we find out that they're going to Prague, and their original plan was to like go clubbing in Prague. They're already going to take the trip. They've planned out where they're going.
Oh, yeah.
We get a little bit of their relationship between the three of them, where Lorna's kind of the outsider and the other two are kind of more friendly. We also find out that Beth is rich because her dad offers to book the Four Seasons, and she's like, no, just let us go do our thing. Like,
yeah, she's like, people our age aren't going to be at the Four Seasons.
Yeah, no, we're trying to experience Europe like as young backpacking kids.
So we don't realize quite how rich he is yet, but
well,
that they've got money.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we don't really realize that until later either, because we assume that it's him that has the money.
Right.
But it turned out it was her mother that had the money. She died and all the money went to Beth.
Yeah.
And her dad is given an allowance by Beth.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
So after the class lets out, this is where we meet Axel, who was the model, and who I think has I didn't necessarily realize this the first time I saw it. Beth is queer coded very blatantly in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think she latches on to Beth as potentially her in to this group, thinking that Beth is attracted to her. And I think that leads us into kind of a really interesting dichotomy between the two movies where, like, in the first movie, the boys were attracted to the girls, so they followed them.
Yeah.
And in this movie, the girls are like, I'm still gonna check on my friend. And it's not as easy of a sell, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah.
And for me is more relatable than the first movie.
Well, yeah, because it's women.
Right.
I feel like it should be by design. Yeah, I agree though. Yeah.
It's the different societal construct, and how would they get women if they don't do it the same way that they do for men?
Yeah, I also find that interaction would be more realistic for me as well. Like if I was around and I was single and in a foreign country and these beautiful women were like, come with us to a second location, I'd be like, no, like I don't want to die tonight.
Right.
So I'm not going to do that. Like, I would just be too smart, but like, honestly, I would just never believe that anything positive could happen to me like that. So like, I would be like, no, surely these women want to kill me.
Well, and even in this movie, because she does offer, she's like, can we go get a drink? And she's like, actually, we have other plans, but like maybe another time. Like just kind of graciously lets her down.
Yeah.
And it's one of many times that people try to get Beth to do something. And she's like,
no, I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I know who I am and I don't need to be part of this. But we then reveal that they've invited Lorna. So now it's the three of them on the overnight train.
Yeah. And Whitney is pissed about it, guys. Let me be clear. Whitney hates Mia's friend.
Well, I think she just thinks that she's going to be a downer, which she is. I mean, it's a different kind of vibe for sure.
She a little bit of a downer, yeah. I mean, she's just, I think, more cautious and like more introverted.
See, I read her as naive.
I'd agree with that too.
I feel like maybe this is her first time out of the country and she's there for, her art reasons because she's very into all the art and the frescoes and everything and has not maybe really wanted to partake in the more dancey discotheque boys version of Europe that Whitney wants, which was definitely more me when I was in Europe as a teenager because I am afraid of strangers. It's how I didn't get murdered.
So like I would be nervous as a woman traveling in Europe alone.
Yeah.
Today I would feel nervous. So like I get it. I don't know why not that any of this is their fault, obviously, but like, especially Beth being rich as shit, like higher security. What are we doing? Oh,
no. See, here's the thing. As a group, if I was with multiple people, I wouldn't be that weirded out.
And there are three of them. Like it's that are not in on it. Man, I also thought at one point, how awesome would it be if Mia's best friend was like the person bringing them in and not the person who was like Eastern European model coded, who like clearly we know. Like if she didn't know, but Mia's friend was like, that's her job.
See, that would actually, from a societal conditioning standpoint for cisgender women, I would say that's fascinating because the whole reason they bring her on the trip is because they feel bad for her, which is something that women are societally conditioned to do. There are like psychological studies about this where men are just the way that we treat them within American society, America specifically. They are not socialized to necessarily care for the group. They are socialized to further their own interests. And there are times when that is a good thing. Like I'm not passing any judgment on either of these. There have just been a lot of unique studies about this. Whereas women are socialized to protect the group.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we should all be happy. And we should include her, even though we don't like her because she felt bad and she was sad and I didn't want her to be sad. And that's how she ends up on the group. And I feel like if this was a group of dudes, that might not happen. They would probably just be like, sorry, bro, we're going, or whatever. But I feel like with women, a lot of times, I think if you had like 10 groups of women, I think it would happen 7 out of 10 times that they would be like,
yeah,
she can come.
Because everyone wants to make everyone happy. Everyone wants to be people please and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But that would be a really interesting way to play on the social conditioning to get her into the group if she was the villain. That would be fascinating. I'm here for that movie.
It would work.
But essentially, she wants to stay in the train car and listen to her iPod. They're going to go get drinks in the club car, and they bump into a guy in the hallway that looks like Bob from Twin Peaks. It's not, but he is one of the people that's in on it.
He is. In fact, we see him and Axel in a photo later in the movie at Sasha's place, I think.
Right. Yeah, because essentially what happens is they bump into him. He goes into the cabin, steals her iPod, like robs her.
Yeah, we don't see that part because at the time that's happening, we're following Beth and Whitney, who are in like the meal car, if you will, like having a drink.
Yeah. So while they're having a drink, they notice that Axel is there, which to me, and we do get a shot of Beth being like, oh, that's kind of...
It is kind of weird because in her, like, I can't go out with you and have a drink, she was like, I'm taking a train to Prague.
Right.
So, like, she's definitely on that train because you said that, and that is a red flag, Yeah. But Beth does see it that way initially.
Yeah, I feel like it's clearly demonstrated in the scene that Beth is like, oh.
Weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they immediately kind of like, they drink their drinks, they leave because they're going to try to go buy drugs from a guy, and it's not a great situation.
Man.
And they have to leave.
Paige, that train car they go to looks like...
terrifying.
It's so...
It looks like it's on a different train.
Fuck. It looks like a train car from Snowpiercer.
Yes. Yeah.
But like if Snowpiercer also had like an after-school special about classism, like that's what it looks like, because it looks like all the walls are like long bathroom stalls that are like graffitied on and like carved into.
Yes.
And it's like completely different material than all of the other train cars we've seen.
And it looks like they live in that train car.
Yes, it does look like that, which is strange for something that is more or less a commuter train between cities. Right? That would be like if I lived on the Southwest plane I took 3 times last week,
Yes, exactly. Because they're going from Rome to Prague. It is an overnight train, so it's a few hours.
Yes, it's a long train ride.
Yeah.
It's not days and days and days.
You don't live there.
No.
And I assume that the train like goes around city to city to city. So like you can't like live there. And even if you could, that would be expensive. I guess if you bought a Eurail pass, you could just kind of like chill out for 30 days. But I'm pretty sure you can't like live on the train. But that is what it looks like they are doing, that they have like set up residence.
Yes, it does look like that.
Yeah.
It is crazy choices from the like set design department.
Well, and he's like looking through the drugs and looking for the drugs in his bag. He can't find them because, spoiler, there are no drugs.
There were never any drugs. They wanted to get them to their second location.
Right. But I do love in this scene that he like kind of goes off on her and is just like, if you're not going to stay here and have sex with us, fuck you, bitch. I'll come find you. And this is the first time we see Beth go off on somebody.
Well, it's because he calls her the C word.
He calls her a cunt.
And she hates that.
Hates it.
So she like really goes off on him. And I don't know if you know this, that's the same word Stu uses.
Yes, it is.
When he becomes a eunuch. Well, and a no-nick, really.
He should have been nicer to her and tried to escape together. Just saying.
Yes, he should have. He should have gotten her out and been like, listen, I came in this room and they thought I was going to kill you. Now you and I have to leave this room with all the weapons we can grab and carry and get out together.
Yeah.
Are you in this?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yep.
And then we would have had the best best gear up montage, and it would have been me and you, Paige, fighting our way out. And let's be honest, you'd have made it fine without me. And listen, it was right to leave. I was the one that got shot in the knee. It's my fault.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. If they would have fought their way out, he would have absolutely died in the process, but she would have probably made it.
He would have, and I would have loved it, honestly. Like,
I would have been fine. He shouldn't have tried to go there in the first place.
Agreed.
and I feel like we would have gotten from her, which we do kind of get the last 20 minutes of this movie, is her just ripping dicks and taking names. But the better version of it is that montage in Fresh where all three of the girls gang up on the one guy and just beat the shit out of him and then shoot him in the dick.
Yeah.
So like that's a better catharsis, but this is close. Anyway, so they get back to the cabin because they're trying to hide from those dudes.
Yeah.
And this is where they find out that her iPod's been stolen, but who should knock at the door with the iPod but Excel? And hey, I'll stay in this cabin with you guys. And it's like she has overridden the red flags that Beth has for her by being useful in this moment and bringing back the iPod. It's almost like demonstrating that she's actually doing good, even though we will find out that the guy who mugged Lorna just brought her the iPod because they're in it together.
And Paige, what you just brought up is the beginning of Axel using the dentist system to bring in her victims. And this is the demonstrate value of that dentist system.
That's right.
You're absolutely right. Yes. I do think it's great because she's like, oh yeah, I don't know. I found it or whatever. Here it is. And she sort of glosses over it. And then like they sit down and they're chatting. And she does ask her like, why are you on this train? And she was like, oh, you inspired me to take a trip. I'm not going to Prague. I'm actually going to this other place. They have these great like hot water springs and stuff. So I'm going to go. So it's like she's going to a place that happens to be along the same train that they're on.
Right.
So I'm not going where you're going. I'm not following you. You just inspired me to go is what it is, right?
Right.
And then she does a great job of selling it. And of course,
I'm telling you, I'm buying what she's selling. That sounds amazing.
It does sound amazing. I did the hot springs when I was in the UK and it was in Bath and it was great. I loved it.
I'm supposed to go to some hot springs in the US in a couple weeks, and I don't know if those are going to be as cool, but I've seen the ones in Iceland and I want to do those ones, like hardcore.
I mean, anytime you can get in a spring, do it.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. It is really cool. The one in Bath was awesome.
Well, and they seem cleaner than lakes and whatnots.
I mean, the one I was in Bath was like very clean.
Yeah. This one looks clean. I was all about it. Plus that mud is supposedly really good for your skin. I would have done it. You would have sold me. But I think this is another one of those things where they like looked at the first movie and were like, okay, who would we sell on this idea of going to follow these girls or whatever to this thing?
Right.
And it's like, well, you wouldn't sell girls that way, but could you sell them on like a fun spa weekend instead of the clubs?
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
You could sell me.
And it's not Whitney who's like, yeah, let's go to the spa. Because Whitney's more like the party girl, let's go get drunk and get laid.
But she agrees because they're like,
I know.
I'm kind of done with guys, after those creepy guys. Yeah.
Yeah, even Whitney was like, oof, I really could use a nice mani-pedi weekend.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Paige, let's do it.
Let's go. Anyway, so they arrive in Slovakia, and she takes them, of course, to the hostel. It's the same hostel that we've seen. Pulp Fiction is on the TV. Very fun. But this is also where we meet the guy who like checks them in, who has the craziest accent I've ever heard.
Come to party. Be fun, sexy time, yeah?
Fun, sexy time.
It's real crazy. Like, I don't know if that's a real accent for anywhere in the world.
I don't think so.
But it sounds offensive to many places.
Yes. Yeah. It sounds like what I would call generic European.
Yes.
But it's like, it's just a shade off of Dan Stevens and Eurovision of just like.
That's who I was doing with my impression.
Pet tiger could be arranged, like that kind of. Yeah. But this guy's a little even weirder, but he stashes their passports. Which, to like make copies of them, I never.
Paige, never give your passport away to somebody.
No.
That's like the one thing they tell you about passports, Paige.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. I have never stayed in a hostel outside of the U.S.
I have.
Have you? Did they make you check your passport in? This movie is not the only time I've heard of that happening.
No. They did not.
All right.
I had to show them my passport like I did pretty much every place I checked into, like a hotel, would want to see it.
Right.
And I would show it to them. I mean, they would even take it and look at it and then they would hand it back. I certainly wasn't going to let them walk to a second location I couldn't see with it.
Right.
Because like, I don't have a great like relationship with the ambassador of whatever country I'm going to.
Exactly.
So like, I'm sort of fucked if I don't have the passport, guys.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
like, you hear a lot of stories about like, that's how a lot of like people get trafficked, and like, it's really bad. So like, don't give up your passport ever.
Yeah, don't give up your passport. And if people bug you about it, just be really firm. Like somebody tried to steal our credit card in a taxi earlier this week while we've been traveling, and they picked the wrong one because like they had to deal with me being like, no. And then being like, so what do you want to do about it? I was like, oh, I'm gonna get out of this cab. And they were like, but, and I was like, I don't, what, I'm sorry. Did you think you could shame me?
Was it the cab driver who was trying to steal your credit card?
Yes, girl.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. So he was acting like his tap to pay thing wasn't working. And he was like, oh, just type your credit card number in here and I'll run it later. I was like,
Nope.
No, absolutely not. No, my friend, I'm not going to do that. And he was just like, well, then how do you want to pay for it? And I X'd out of the screen and I was like, it already ran my card. And he was like, oh. And I was like, bye, not doing that.
Yeah, never. That's as dumb as like, I don't know, buying a video game while streaming and thinking your
Right.
credit card wasn't up on the screen while you were broadcasting. It's like that kind of dumb.
That's a special level of dumb that's only reserved for Todd.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a real thing I did. I was dumb. Well, I am dumb.
I mean, I'm just mad Mikey and I didn't write it down fast enough, and we shouldn't have told you right away.
I literally in that same 10-minute span had already called and canceled that card.
Yeah.
Because I knew there were like 300 people watching me do that.
Hilarious.
It was very embarrassing.
Anyway, as they're checking in, they find out that there's a harvest fair, and this is where he says it'll be sexy good times. And in line behind them is Victor Crumb, who is like definitely going to go to the harvest fair. And so Whitney is just like, this sounds terrible. I think we'll go.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to go.
Whitney was out until, is it really Victor Crumb? Hang on.
Yeah, it's the same actor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until Victor Crumb comes and grabs a flyer, and then she's like, I want a Victor get some. So I'll be going.
Yeah. His name is Stanislav Yavanesky, and let's see what else he's been in.
That's a way better name than Victor Crumb, for the record.
It is. It only has Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, but I'm going to make double, triple check. Yeah, he was also in Hostel Part 2 before being in Deathly Hallows Part 1 as an uncredited cameo. So,
Well, there you go.
Anyway, they get set up in the hostel. They go downstairs, but we cut to the dude at the front desk copying the passports, like
scanning them into his computer. And this is when we start to see like the montages of like,
this is the bidding war.
yeah, the bidding starting for, I assume, all of them.
Yes, all of them.
All three of them.
Yeah, all three of them. And we don't see who wins what, except for we see a guy who seems to have won Beth, but we'll find out it's Beth and Whitney. So it's both of them. We'll find out later that he paid for both of them because Stuart could not afford it.
Right.
And so he paid for both.
I actually don't really understand why they were friends. Like, do they work together? Is that like Stu's boss?
I think they have worked together maybe in the past or currently do. It doesn't really go into it. But we do know that they illicitly travel together because they reveal that they've done a sex tour through Asia, and that's how he got gonorrhea. So, like, they're not good dudes.
Right.
And the movie doesn't hide that from you, and it sets it up pretty quickly that they're not good dudes. It does kind of fake you out with Stuart because there's a part of you that thinks that maybe Stuart cares and has a little more empathy, but then,
oh man,
you know, when we see what happens, you see kind of how fragile that empathy is.
Or how faint, like it's a put on sort of empathy, like it's not real.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, I don't even know if it's not real or if his toxic masculinity and sense of self overpowers whatever empathy he has or had.
Yes.
And breaks in that moment.
Yes.
But we see him get the call as he's like clearing breakfast plates with his kids. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I'll just tell her I have to meet a client. I can go right now. So we cut to Slovakia, where they encounter that group of children who demand $1, but then Axel shoos them away. And I do think it's interesting that, like, no one really questions until Beth does later how Axel knows her way around, knows all these people, knows this town, knows all this stuff, when this is supposedly just her vacation spot.
I mean, she does say that she's been there before. Like, this is a place she goes to occasionally.
Sure.
But she does know people on a level that, like, you don't know the locals at this place you go twice a year to, like, sit in a hot spring for 2 days, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, she knows the guy who runs the biggest business in town. She knows his Artful Dodger sidekick child character who runs the 11 to 12-year-old gang or whatever this is. I think his name might be Dodger or perhaps Rufio. Like, it just seems like that kind of vibe.
Yes, but we cut to the way that the two men that we have now seen win the bidding war, what their experience is, which I do love that this movie includes, that we see their side of it. Because they get a corner suite with river views. They have pagers like it's a Chili's.
I literally wrote in my notes, are they going to operate their murder business like the West End Nashville Chili's here does? And yes, they do. And they have their, like, tattoo, like their logos right in the middle
On
of the pager.
pagers.
I was like, oh, I've seen exactly this pager with like 4 or 5 different restaurant logos in that exact spot.
Well, and the pager that seems to work anywhere in town,
Yes.
which is insane, the
Yeah.
reach of those pagers. But it reminded me of, if you watch Gemstones, I think it was like not last season, but the season before, where Danny McBride hands BJ, he's like, if you need me, call me on this pager. I rewired it from Chili's. And you're like, you fully think that he's full of shit and that he's just brushing him off and giving him a task that he can't do, until later in the movie when they fully call each other on those pagers. And I lost my mind.
That's awesome.
It was so good. Anyway, we cut to the festival, and it's like Euro Ren Fair. Very fun.
It is like I went to the Ren Fair at night.
Yeah.
It is like that very much. I liked it though. I was like, I kind of dig the Ren Fair vibe.
Yeah. Well, and this is where there's like dancing and everything, but we get a little bit of information between Whitney and Lorna about how rich Beth is.
Yeah.
And that her mom died. She has the inheritance. She keeps her dad on an allowance. Who should show up but Victor Crumb? But also, we see that the creepy businessmen are watching them at the festival, which is something that I don't think we realized in the first movie.
We did not.
They literally see them out and about. They have evidence that they're people. It's not this disconnect of just a nameless face. It's like, you can go observe them. That's haunting.
I thought that was such a cool element to it. Like,
Yeah.
they don't even know that they are captured in this moment. Like, they have no idea. The whole sort of town, I think, on some level is in on it or knows and is just sort of like...
It's the town's economy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, like, no, everyone's sort of in on it to a various level, but like, there's no escape for them to the point where they've already like been sold.
Yeah.
The people who have purchased their lives have flown here from America. Like, that's a day trip.
Yep.
You know, so like they were sold 2 days ago.
Yep.
That's crazy to me. But it also makes it really scary.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
This episode is sponsored by AutoTrader. Credit scores, down payments, interest rates. Car buying can be a numbers game, but you don't have to be a math expert to get the keys to your dream car. Just use Kelley Blue Book My Wallet on AutoTrader. Crunch your numbers and get your personalized results so you know exactly how much you'll pay each month for your car. It's like having a magic wand for your wallet. Presto, the car you've been wanting is now within reach. So hit the road and leave your calculator at home. Find your next car on autotrader.com.
We cut to them getting their tattoos.
Oh, you mean Todd and Stu?
Yep.
Yeah. And Todd, of course, is like, woo, let's do this. Tattoo me, baby.
When he gets it on his bicep like a total chode, just like,
Yeah.
he's just a total dick. I was just
Yeah.
like,
He's like, I'm going to get it right above the barbed wire.
Oh God.
But Stu is like, I'm good on tattoos. Like, I don't want a tattoo. My wife, how would I explain this to my wife and all of that?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah, you have to get the tattoo or we're going to kill you.
Yeah. Well, and this is also where we find out that they have been sex tourists, where he's like, what about that time you brought gonorrhea back? Which honestly, harder to explain, but like.
Definitely harder to explain than a tattoo. Yeah.
I mean, like, you could explain a tattoo a bunch of different ways, and most of them just start with tequila, and like most people would believe it. So, like,
Yeah.
But this is where his friend is like, this isn't a place of sex workers where you could back out and decide you don't want to do it. Like, if you say no, they kill you. Like, you're in or out.
Yeah.
Basically.
It is sort of like you're joining a secret society that you cannot talk about.
Right.
So, like, I do buy that the stakes are life and death for Stu in this moment,
Yeah.
But it's crazy that this, like, secret society is this big and no one knows about it and all that. But, like, I have to live in the world the movie creates, and that is this world.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's like in Fresh, where it's like, how could this fund his lifestyle and have nobody know about it? And it's like, well, within the world of the movie, it does.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting that in this scene, that Todd is like, I'm proud of mine. And later we get kind of his speech of like, do you ever see somebody and just know they killed somebody? Like, I want the gravitas that comes with that. But that's the thing. It's like he wants the manufactured version of that. And I think that reflects on like why he chickens out later. But yeah.
I mean, I actually really do like him talking about that because it's so performative and like silly. And what you're really talking about is just like general confidence. And that person probably didn't kill anybody.
Right.
He's just not scared of who he is inside, Todd. You little bitch. I hate you so much, inner me. But like, that is what he is doing in that moment. And it's not real. Like, it's all performative.
Well, and I love that the movie views it that way too.
Yeah, it does.
The movie is like, this is performative.
Yeah.
And so like, I do really like the way the movie paints the type of people who would do this. Anyway, they're sitting watching the dancing. He does get kind of close to Beth to kind of talk to her for a little bit.
Which, okay, and I do think you're right, because the way this conversation between them takes place is the guy who like is driving the truck later on comes up to her and is like, hey, do you want to dance? And she's like, no, I'm good. I'm not interested. Thanks. And he's like, I could have helped you. And then he walks away. And then the clerk from the hostel comes over and gives her a drink.
Well, he say to you, he won't do that.
Right.
He doesn't bother you anymore. You're like, what is this accent?
And he is the only one who talks like he is from Eastern Europe, but also New Orleans.
Yeah. He's from Transylvania by way of Sesame Street.
Yes.
Like that is what it is.
He is definitely going to count the number of jars of brandy behind the counter later. That's all we're saying.
Yeah. $50,000 for American Girl.
He is the slowest auctioneer in all of Slovakia.
Oh God, yes.
But she does like, no, okay, I'm not going to drink an open drink some random count handed me. So she dumps it out, and she actually dumps it out without looking, and it hits his pants.
Right, because he's standing too close to her.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I do think, let's talk about the guy that she turns down for a second, because he's like, do you want to dance? And she's like, no, thank you. My feet are tired, or whatever. At no point is she like, I don't like you. Like, we don't know. Her feet might be tired. She has been up dancing around or whatever.
She has been. We've seen it.
Yeah, they do portray him as kind of goofy looking, but she's very kind in her, like, my feet, I'm tired, but thank you so much.
She definitely doesn't telegraph that it's his looks that are the reason she's turning him down.
Right.
If that's what you're saying. In the movie, she says it is that she's tired and her feet hurt.
Yeah. But he takes it that way. And he does the immediately like, well, fuck you, bitch. I could have helped you.
Yeah, he does. Which is real gross. But also like really works with the metaphor.
Yeah, there was a part of me that wanted her to hunt him down at the end. But I'm fine with it being XL, because XL is the one who like actually turns her in. So
yeah.
Anyway, so she ends up talking to Stuart. And they kind of get along a little bit. They talk or whatever.
I mean, it is sort of like a rom-com meet cute on some level, although we know like the context of what's actually going on. So like it doesn't feel that way, but it is like one of those, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to spill my drink on you. Let me get you another drink kind of moment. And they do sort of chit chat, and it's very friendly. Like I wouldn't say there's like romance there, but like it definitely is friendly.
Yeah. But as they're talking, she runs into Lorna, who has found a love connection with a guy who asked her to dance and seems very sweet and wants to take her on a boat ride. And this is where Beth is like, hey, it is not that I don't like him. It's not that I don't think he's cute. It's not that I don't want you to be happy, but please don't go on a boat ride with him. I want to keep us all together where we're safe.
Yeah.
So that because we're together.
I'm sorry, you can't go with this man to a second location via a boat. I don't care if he looks like Eastern European Jake. You cannot do it.
I did notice that as well.
And I was like, I get it. I understand why she'd want to go with him. And I bet Paige would too.
No, not in this scenario. I'd be too suspicious of leaving and going to a second location. But
oh, of course. Yeah, and you shouldn't, obviously, from what happens to her. Yeah.
But also this is part of, we've established that she's naive. Boys maybe have not shown a lot of notice in her. And she's very excited. And she's been drinking. I think there's a strong argument to be made that she might be drugged.
Oh, I definitely think you're right about that. Yeah.
Because they all remark that cider is like the hardest they've ever tried. So like, she's not in the right frame of mind. But so she unfortunately does go on the boat.
Yeah, she does leave with him.
Yeah. Now, Stuart leaves. And Beth is like, yeah, I'm going to head out because I got to go take care of Whitney, who is falling all over Victor Crumb. But they exchange names, they leave. And they realize that Lorna hasn't come back and they can't get to her fast enough. But Axel is like, don't worry, I will wait for her. You guys go back to the hostel.
Yeah.
We cut to the boat and he pulls out a knife and a chain and you're like, oh my God, he's going to kill her. And then he just ties up the boat and you're like, oh, thank goodness.
I know. You're like, oh, he's a good guy. Okay. And then he's like, close your eyes and it's like they're going to kiss. And then the bag goes over her head and you're like, oh no.
No.
Oh no. And now you know what I really want The Princess Diaries 3 to be?
Her escaping?
No. Mia Thermopolis, like the girl from the dragon tattoo, getting revenge on this town.
Let's fucking go.
And just like, you have no idea that that's what the movie is, and that's the movie.
You fucked with the entire powers of the country of Genovia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It's her, Mary Poppins.
Let's go.
Just going to town on this town.
Hector Elizondo is there. Yeah.
In like an IT, like tech support role.
Yeah, he's in the van and he's like, the eagle is landing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, they knock her unconscious. She's out of commission. You're like, oh no, she's definitely going to get hostiled.
I honestly thought she might have been dead because she falls face first into water and they don't like grab her immediately. I was like, oh, she's just dead. But she's not. Don't worry. They torture the shit out of her later.
They do. They get back to the hostel and she pulls her away from Victor Crumb because her friend has had too much to drink and is just like, maybe another time, but tonight we're not consenting under this level of alcohol. So we're going to bed. You're going your way. We'll see you tomorrow.
And Paige, everything you just said is accurate and they should not have had sex. But in hindsight, I know that Victor Crumb is also a victim in this.
Yes.
Kind of makes me sad that they both didn't get to have sex on their last night alive.
I feel you.
But I do also agree that she was too drunk to be able to consent. And probably him too.
He was too, yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yep. Anyway, we cut to Todd and Stuart. And this is where they have that conversation of like, the killer behind the eyes, basically. They go to a spa because we kind of cut back and forth between like the spa day they're having and the spa day the girls are having.
The guy spa is very different, Paige.
It's very different because they're like spa and then they leave and then it is just strippers.
Yeah.
Like everywhere.
It's more like a strip club than a spa, really.
Yeah. And potentially, based on what we see later, it might be a brothel. Like, honestly.
Oh, shit. No, it definitely... Well, I guess we don't know for sure. But yeah, I would assume it is based upon the lady that blows Todd later on.
Well, and I think it's probably part of the whole package or whatever because they get them rooms or whatever. And so it seems like this is the whole thing where it's like you bid on them and then you stay here till we capture them. Which is haunting to think about, like that they know that's going on.
I mean, that's essentially why they have the pagers, right?
Yes.
Like it is to alert them, like, okay, hey, something happened. We had to bring them in immediately. Let's get to it,
Yeah.
But I do think that like part of it for people, and maybe it is for people who have done it a few times, is how long can we keep the charade going in this town? And here's what I'm pitching, Paige. More or less hostile, but she's just a busy professional lady from the city, and he is just trying to save his Christmas tree factory town. And so and it's just like, how long can they keep the charade going before he takes her into a room and murders her?
Ooh.
It's like a Hallmark Hostel.
Hallmark Hostel. Well, at what point does her boyfriend from the big city realize that she hasn't answered her phone and come to rescue her? And he unfortunately gets killed in the process of saving her. So she knows that he really did love her.
Paige, I love it. No notes. Yes to that.
I'll have the draft by Monday. Anyway, Monday is in a few hours.
I know, right? Yeah, we're recording this pretty late. Apologies for the late night energy. But I do think Hallmark Hostel should take off.
I'm here for Hallmark horror movies. I feel like that's an untapped market. Well, they're Shudder horror movies. That's basically what they are.
If by Hallmark you mean low budget, yes, there are low budget horror movies. I think what you actually mean is like horror movies that look like they take place on the set of some telenovela.
Exactly.
Like, I know what you mean by Hallmark, and it's like a specific bad, weird set design and script vibe. And I do want that. You're right.
And Vanessa Hudgens is in most of them. Yeah.
It's a requirement.
The requirement.
Yeah.
She has to play at least 2 characters.
The Hostel switch too.
Oh God. The girls are at the hot springs. It looks wonderful, but we cut to
it does look great.
Where Lorna is hanging upside down, gagged, and they kind of crane her over a tile hot tub, like a bathtub with candles. And the guy who lured her there kisses her forehead, which is so harsh.
Hot. Oh, yeah. No, it's terrible. But it is Eastern European Jake. So like.
Sure, but it's definitely this thing of like this very sweet, intimate moment because that's what she was craving and that's how she got tricked. And it's
yeah, no, it's terrible. And like, man, I felt bad for the actress in this scene because she is like naked being hung upside down. And it probably would have taken hours to shoot all of this scene, right? And so they would have had to been breaks where she like, they had to let her down and like let the blood return to like the parts of the body it needs to be in and then crane her back up. That would have been a whole day on set with her naked, more or less. I felt so bad for her.
I don't know that it's all her.
It could be somebody else. You're right. But whoever had to perform that, that's terrible. That's hard.
Well, and you can only be upside down for so long by union rules. So like,
yeah, no, I mean, because it can kill you.
Yes. So, oof. Yeah, it's brutal, but essentially we know that she's about to be in for some not fun times.
Oh yeah, and the lady who like gets down into the tub underneath her and you're like, oh, this is like what Fox News is telling its viewers is like how the left is staying woke or whatever. Yeah. Like it's gross. I hate it.
It's very Elizabeth Bathory where she's basically using a scythe to drain her of her blood and then ultimately slits her throat and bathes in her blood while she screams.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
It is terrible.
Yeah, but I would also say that it demonstrates a slightly different version of what this place is than the first movie showed us. And I also think that there's a little bit of a metaphor in it of women willing to cut other women down.
Oh, yeah. I definitely think that is what's going on here. Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
I do think it was intentional to show a woman in that position of power in this movie that wasn't saving herself. That was there recreationally, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the spa, they're all relaxing. Axel gives Beth kind of a massage. She falls asleep. She wakes up and everyone is gone.
Okay. Don't fall asleep in like hot tubs or hot springs, guys. When she fell asleep, I was so like, how do you sleep like that?
Oh, I have absolutely slept like that.
Paige, that's how we lost Matthew Perry. Don't sleep in tubs.
I know it is dangerous. I know. But I have absolutely laid down in a bathtub and been so exhausted and like with my head up against the wall. So I'm not like in the water, just like.
Yeah. Like propped up. Yeah.
Because the water itself is very soothing. If they could find a safe way to sleep like that, I'd sleep like that all the time. Like it's so nice.
I wouldn't do that because your blanket's slowly getting colder as the evening progresses. Like I wouldn't want to do that.
That's true. Anyway, so everyone's gone. And it does seem later, we will find out, it seems like they just rounded them all up.
I think so, because this is like, we don't see them round up Whitney. We don't see them round up Victor Crumb, but we do see them getting killed later on. So like, I do think she just fell asleep and woke up after everyone had been taken.
Right.
And I think she might have been drugged because Axel comes over there, like kisses her on her back and is like, whatever, and sort of making sure she is about to pass out.
Right. Well, and Axel is the one that kind of comes back for her. I think she's maybe valuable. And so they're kind of taking extra care. So maybe they paid a lot for her. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, she makes a run for it because she's like, I don't know anybody here. And she does run into that guy who asked her to dance. And she's like, please help me. And he's like, get away. I tried to help you, but you don't listen. And he drives away.
In all fairness to that guy, he had clearly had the shit beat out of him.
Right.
And he was moving.
Yes.
Like he had his whole life packed up in that truck like they had just struck black gold.
Yes.
It was like couches piled up and tied down and like driving out of town.
Yeah. So she goes running. The kids surround her and a gunshot scatters them because Sasha and Axel have showed up. They put her in the car and the car is strategically parked kind of far away.
Yeah.
So Sasha walks over and just silencer shoots one of those kids.
Okay. This scene takes forever though.
It does.
Because they I guess are going to shoot the kids for reasons. Like they don't really say why he shoots one of the kids.
They don't say. For me, it's implied that either that kid gave one of them away or didn't alert them, or that all of the kids had a job to do and they fucked up, so they had to pick one, something like that.
I don't know, but they did have to pick one. It was gross. But the scene takes so long, I was able to write this in my notes. Do it. Shoot a kid. Bet you won't. Not in a Quentin Tarantino movie. He'd have to see a Japanese director pull it off before he'd even dare to try it himself. You ain't gonna shoot that. Oh shit. He made him pick one? Fuck, brutal. Nice.
Yeah. It goes on a long time.
But it probably took me 90 seconds to write all that shit out.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, guys. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
When they all throw that one kid down, you're like, oh God, that's brutal.
Oh, all of these kids are going to grow up to be the future bodyguards of this organization.
Oh, yeah.
This is just, oof. But we cut to the house because they drive up to the house and she's like, so Axel, you and Sasha, and this is the first time anyone's been like, hey, Axel, you seem to know a lot of people here or whatever. And she's just like, oh yeah, he does auctions for stuff. Let's get you some clothes, and takes her to a bedroom. Meanwhile, we see that Whitney is in a cell and they take her out to try and give her a makeover.
Oh man.
Until she bites the makeup artist lady.
Which you had it coming.
You had it coming.
That's on you.
I shouldn't laugh because it's terrible. But when she uncuffs her, it is just like, hey, let's do your nails. I laugh so hard because it's very much like, oh, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just giving you a makeover since somebody else can hurt you. But it's like she steals the key, she runs. But the fact that they're laughing at her trying to escape is brutal.
It's pretty gross. I mean, and even the lady trying to do the nails is like, oh, I'm just trying to make you look pretty. And then Whitney's like, pretty for who? And she's like, pretty for the client. And then that scares the shit out of Whitney because that's real terrifying.
Yeah.
Because at best, you're about to be horrifically sexually assaulted at best.
Exactly. And I think that's probably what Whitney is thinking, not realizing it could be so much worse.
Oh, no. I mean, that's what I think. At best, it's that. Oh my God. Yeah.
Anyway, meanwhile, Beth is also getting a makeover because Axel is kind of doing her hair and getting her clothes, etc.
Yeah.
But as soon as Axel leaves, because Axel is like, lay down, get some rest. But no, Beth don't fucking trust her.
No, Beth can sense that something's wrong.
Yeah, she knows something's wrong.
Yeah.
And she sees the guys that chased her coming up the stairs and she knows she's fucking fucked.
Yeah.
So she goes into a closet to hide and accidentally backs through the back of the wardrobe into Narnia, but Narnia is just a closet full of severed heads.
Mr. Tumnus is collecting heads?
It's always winter, never Christmas. That kind of madness.
I always knew James McAvoy had a closet full of heads. That's such a weird reference that no one's going to get it. That
seems like it.
Yeah. But there are a lot. There's a legit 9 heads in this closet that are fresh.
Yeah.
How many people are dying on a daily basis that this dude can have a secret room off of his guest walk-in closet that has 9 fresh heads in it?
So here's the thing. I don't think they're fresh. I think they're taxidermied, and I think they're only the ones that escaped.
I mean, I don't know how you got there, but I love it.
Because number-wise, there's 4 or 5 different people all killing people this one day. And so I feel like they're constantly doing it. So it would be so many more heads. But the amount of people that have probably escaped to the outside could probably fit in that room, you know?
I mean, fair, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, meanwhile, the buzzers go off, and Todd is in the midst of a service by a sex worker and comes down dressed in a suit. Stuart meets him, and he's just kind of in like a polo, and he's like, I don't... And that's very clearly telegraphing that Stuart is uncomfortable and doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. Or at least is very much on the fence. Like, oh man, this is like, there's a lot going on here, man.
Yeah.
And Todd's like, fuck yeah, can't wait to kill. It's going to be great to kill.
Well, and my favorite, and this is where the reference to a movie comes in, is they're in the car and he says, do you think we're sick? Fuck no. Any places where there are no laws, like Chad or New Orleans, this kind of shit happens. That's a reference to Hard Target.
Is it?
Yes.
That's amazing.
With Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Or as I like to call him, Sean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude. And it is almost word for word a speech that Lance Henriksen, who is like the villain in Hard Target, gives, because Hard Target is an action movie about rich people hunting homeless people.
Hell yes. I forgot about that. You're right.
Yes.
It's been so long since I've seen Hard Target.
Well, and that's why we need to watch the best scene from Hard Target. But he literally says, he's like, yeah, we did this in a bunch of different places, like the Republic of Chad, and references something they did in Chad. And then is like, but the current movie is in New Orleans because there's a police strike.
Hell yes.
And that's
okay.
why they're killing people in New Orleans. So are you ready to watch what I think is the best scene in Hard Target?
Paige, yes. My body is ready. I am prepared.
Great, great, great. Allow me to share my screen with you.
God, nothing says badass 80s hero like choking a rubber snake.
Oh, he doesn't just choke it. Watch this shit.
The violins, Paige.
The violin?
The violins and violins. It makes Hard Target so special.
So good. And the mullet, the greasy mullet.
Jesus.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
He just punched a snake in the face, guys.
That's all you need to know about Hard Target. If you're not sure if you should watch Hard Target, just know that Jean-Claude Van Damme punches a snake in the face, and Wilford Brimley has a crazy Cajun accent and rides a horse.
Diabetes.
It's laissez le bon temps rouler, like that kind of nonsense. They fight. The ending fight is in a Mardi Gras float graveyard. It's Hard Target. You heard it here. Anyway. They go into the factory. We get a montage of them getting ready. It does still make it seem like Stuart doesn't want to do this.
Yeah, the whole time. Honestly, until like maybe like 10 minutes before the end of the movie, you're like, is Stuart going to be a good guy or a terrible guy?
Yeah, is he a good witch or a bad witch?
Not even really a good guy, just like a not shitbag or shitbag. Because he still is there to kill. Like he got as far as in the room.
Right. And he does take the shroud off, and he has Beth, and Todd has Whitney.
Yes.
And he immediately is like, hey, it's Stuart. We met the other night. We got to be careful or they'll kill us both. Here's what I'm doing here. I'm so sorry. And like, he seems like he's having a moment of like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
This is not who I am, whatever.
It seems like he came into the room having made the decision that he is going to save her and get out of there.
Right. And he's like, someone brought me here the same as you, which is how we kind of find out that Todd paid.
Yeah.
But he also, as she's kind of talking to him, she's like, you know, or like, she's like, yeah, you're not this kind of guy. Then we cut to Whitney, who is sobbing. She has a ball gag, and Todd seems absolutely jacked to kill her. And he comes at her with an angle grinder, but the cord is too short.
Paige, when the cord comes out of the wall and the angle grinder stops inches from his face, and then he like realizes what happens and then starts like cackling. I laughed along. I was like, this is insane.
It is, but my favorite is just like as he's trying to like plug it into like an extension cord, he's like, I bet you got whatever the fuck you wanted, didn't you, you fucking skank? And you're just like, what the fuck? What kind of projection weird? Like, men will really fly to Slovakia to kill somebody instead of going to therapy.
Oh, Paige, yes, Paige, 100%. Like, it's at one point, Beth is like, yo, Stu, I am not your wife.
Oh, wait till we get to that, because we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, okay,
that's
okay,
like
okay.
2 scenes from now.
But yeah, no, I think that also proves your point. Yes.
Yes.
Because Todd is working through some shit that like he could have paid way less for.
Yes.
And resolved with way less violence.
Yeah. Well, and we cut back to Stuart and Beth, and he has untied Beth.
Oh, yeah. They're hugging when we cut back to them.
They're hugging. She's going to get out. They're going to get out together.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're not that guy. Thank you. We're going to get out of there. You're not that guy. And we just see him starting to repeat, I'm not that guy.
Right.
I'm not that guy. And instead of it being, I'm not the kind of horrible person who would do this, I'm a good person, it's, I'm not man enough to do it.
Yeah.
Is what that's the underlying subtext of what he's saying is, I will never be that guy who walks into a room and people just know he killed somebody. I will never command that kind of respect, even though all of those things are completely divorced from what he's doing now. And that it's just confidence. And, you could talk to people about that instead of murdering people. But
I'd argue that if you walk into a room and people are like, oh, fuck, that dude's killed a guy, that's not a good thing.
I mean, there was a guy that I used to work with that we all thought he killed a guy.
Was his name Creed Bratton?
No, but it made us fear him and never try to make him mad. So it could help you, I guess, but we don't know if he actually killed anybody or if he was just Russian.
Man, I was definitely in the hasn't until your last word.
Yeah.
And he works at Boeing. I'd be like, oh, he definitely has killed people, allegedly.
He works somewhere else now, but we all were just kind of like, he terrifies you, right? Yeah, absolutely. And that's when they were like, somebody walks in and you don't want to fuck with them because you know what they're capable of. I was like, that guy. That immediately. But in this moment, he's like, I'm not that guy.
Right.
I'll never be that guy. And so he punches her because it's almost like he is now resolved to be that guy.
Yeah.
Because what we will find out seconds from now is that he's got some other unresolved issues. We'll get to it in a second.
Yeah, dude's full on nuts. But he does sort of gaslight himself into being a terrible, I think he just is giving himself permission to be who he is. But he does sort of pull back the mask and become fully American Psycho.
Well, yeah, we'll get to it in just a second because I think there's a moment where the switch fully flips. But
I think you're right too, yeah.
So we cut back to Whitney and Todd moves the angle grinder close to her face and it gets caught in her hair and rips a chunk of her scalp off is what happens.
Yeah, it also the blade hits her in the head.
It doesn't hit her because she doesn't have any cuts, but she's missing a section of her scalp.
She definitely is missing a section of her scalp. Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah, it's gross. But she still has her eyes and whatever. She's messed up, but probably survived. But he's immediately grossed out by it and he's like, oh God, because suddenly it's real and he can't fucking take it. And so he's like, oh, no. We cut back to Beth and Stuart. And this is where Beth is like, hey, no, you're not that guy. What about your wife and kids? And he's like, oh, I'm not allowed to kill my wife. And he shows her a picture of his wife and she looks just like Beth.
I know.
Which is clearly why they bid on Beth. His friend bought him a woman who looks like his wife to kill.
Yeah.
To kill.
Paige.
Yes.
Just get divorced, guys.
I know. And it's clearly this, she doesn't respect me. I don't want, all this. That's the underlying, I'm not that guy. I'm emasculated or whatever. It's fucked up. But then we cut to the other guy who's like, oh, I'm done. And they're like, no. You got to finish. You got to kill her. And he's like, just leave her. And they're like, no, she's going to live through that pretty much. You have to kill her. And so they stick the dogs on him and he gets mauled to death.
Literally in the elevator. They kill him in the elevator. And then because this is a place of business and they are in the business of selling bodies, they do try and sell her and Stubby on the market. Although they do take it to a bunch of other people first, which I thought was a very funny way of having us see a bunch of other torture scenes that were also going on today.
Very briefly, because this is where we see that Victor Crumb's legs be getting eated.
Yes. By that environmentalist dude, yeah.
Right. And he's like, no, thank you. And then there's a dude being electrocuted, and then there's a bunch of other dudes, but then they eventually go to Stuart, and he's like, can I borrow this for a second? And he takes the phone in and is like, what about your little fucking friend? Yeah, no, you know what? I am that guy. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
And he's also like, what happened to Todd? And they wheel his bloody body past him.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's fucking go. And so he just goes and kills Whitney, which should be enough. Because if it's all about have you killed somebody, is that spark in your eye?
Paige.
But it's not.
It was never about that.
Because he wants to kill his wife. It was never about
It was about killing his wife. Exactly. It was about killing his wife. Exactly. Yes. Paige. 100%.
Movie's got layers.
I know.
But it's implied that he either slits her throat or decapitates her. So Whitney is dead.
Yeah, the security guard steps in front of the camera before the knife or whatever falls, so we don't see it. But yeah, she's definitely dead.
Well, and he walks back into the room, and at this point, from this point forward, in his mind, I would say, she's his wife. He's not talking to her, he's talking to his wife. These are the things he wishes he could say. Because he's like, do you notice anything different? I bet you fucking do, you fucking bitch. You're going to respect me now. I don't work for you. You humiliate me. You don't. And she literally stops him and says like,
Yeah.
I'm not your wife.
Yeah.
And tries to like flip, because she's really smart. She tries to flip it and be like, she doesn't understand you like I do. I see how you're strong.
Oh,
like I
Paige.
see it.
Yeah.
See, just playing to the fragile ego.
And you could, I mean, I could see through it. I mean, honestly, like, it is very much an act, right?
Yes.
Because she's like, I see how powerful you are or whatever. And like, when they did talk before she realized that he was the bad guy, you know, the night before or whatever,
Yeah.
she was cordial to him. So she does play up that like, you know, I thought you were attractive. I wish you would kissed me last night, like whatever, you know? So she like does sort of use that. And I do think that's probably a good play in this situation, although it's sad.
Yeah.
It's real scary. Like she is in a very bad situation.
Very bad. And then he has her get down on the floor where it's, I'm sure, gross and covered with blood and any number of things. And it is implied that he is about to assault her.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It is in
like he is.
progress.
Yes.
Yeah. But she, like, he tells her to look at him and she headbutts him.
Yes.
And then gets him across the head with a couple crowbars and then chains him to the chair.
Get in the chair, motherfucker. I love that, honestly.
I love it.
I was like, yes, Beth. Yes.
Yes. But she takes out the camera. She gets the code from him because she sticks a syringe in his ear.
Oh.
It's her birthday, which is sick.
But that's not the code, Paige.
It's not.
That is like the panic code. Bad things are happening.
Right.
And I thought it was so genius that he made that her birthday.
Right.
Because that is like probably one of the first things she would try in a panic, right?
Right.
Crazy.
Exactly. But they show up. Everyone shows up with guns, dogs, all of it. She takes one guy out, gets a gun, but she's poised with scissors over his dick.
Oh, Paige.
And she screams for Sasha.
Yes.
She's already met Sasha.
Yeah, she knows who runs the place. And she's like, I can buy and sell everybody in this room.
Yeah, name your fucking price.
Yeah, whatever he's paying, I'll double it.
Yes.
It'll be like nothing. And he's like, how do you have this money? And she's like, spouts off the various countries she has banks
Offshore
in.
accounts.
Or whatever. And he's like, okay, cool. And then the guy who she literally has by the balls is like, oh, I'll double her doubling of it. And Sasha's like, you have a second mortgage and a wife and 2 kids. Like, you're not good for that money.
And private school for your kids. You're not good for that money. Yeah. But he does tell her, he's like, well, we have a contract here. Like, I'll take your bet, but you can't leave here without killing. And he's like, see, they're still going to kill you, stupid cunt. And she's like, what did you say to me? Cuts his dick off, feeds it to the dogs.
And we see all of it. Like she cuts it and like pulls it out.
Slices.
And she's got like both the twig and berries.
Yeah.
And throws it over to the Rottweilers that killed his buddy Todd.
Yep.
And then they eat his dick and balls.
Well, and she says, let him bleed to death.
Yes.
And then she has to get the tattoo. But I actually think it's really, really interesting that she gets it on her lower back.
No, that's perfect.
It's perfect.
It's perfect for the metaphor, I think, right? Because they were calling them whores and tramps and shit the whole time.
Yes.
And so she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I took your dick.
Yeah.
And I probably took your dick. But we cut back to the festival where she basically gets the kids to lure XL away and beheads her with an axe.
Yes.
And then they use her head for soccer.
Man, when it literally goes from her snatching a dick and feeding it to a dog to her decapitating somebody and then like Ren Fair music playing while like the kids literally play soccer with her head for 90 seconds. Like they like dribble down the field and score a goal and then celebrate. And then we get credits.
Yes.
Like we get so much of them paylaying with her brain. It's hilarious to me. But Paige,
I love it.
And that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what'd you think about Hostel 2?
I really enjoyed it. I was worried it was not going to hold up, and there are some things that don't, but for the most part, I really, really did still like it.
I think it's a way better movie than the first one. I really do. And from what I understand, this is how we're going to feel about Creep 2. Because I hated Creep, but everyone was like, yeah, Creep is not a good movie. Creep 2 is a good movie. You know, so like you have to get there. So I wonder if like that'll hold up the same for that series. But I still didn't enjoy watching this because it's like a lot of tense, like body horror scenes. And I squirmed the whole time. Especially the dick scenes. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like watching cutting Stu's dick and balls off and then throwing them over to a dog and them eating them, that like really grossed me out. That was rough. But I do like it better than the original, and I really like the metaphor like it's playing with. I think they did a really good job with it. Especially for 2007. That is like, it's more like you were getting a lot of like Piranha 3D type shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it is a little forward thinking. Anyway. But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts. Hostel fun facts.
Eli Roth received some criticism over the amount of women naked in the first Hostel. They were like, way too much female nudity. And he was like...
Probably fair. I don't remember that. Yeah. But it's been a long time since we've seen it. So it's probably fair.
I would say that it's about the same amount that's in this movie. I mean, there's a fair amount in this movie, too.
There is, yeah.
But as kind of a nod to that, the first piece of nudity in this movie is a fully frontally naked man.
Yeah. Because they do the changeover. Like, you do see both, you know?
Yep. This is not a fun fact as much as just, it's not very fun. But Heather Matarazzo had been sober for about a year when she arrived to film this movie.
I don't like the way this is starting.
I know. Well, according to her, multiple people on set tried to get her to relapse. Oh. And she, as far as I know, she did not. But that's not cool. Don't do that to people.
That is not cool. Don't do that. But that's great that she didn't. Good for her.
Yeah. The Woman in the Bathtub is based on Elizabeth Bathory. No surprises there.
Yeah.
For Axel's nude scene as the nude model, her nipples were CGI'd.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Eli Roth's severed head is in the head closet.
I know. It's the one they zoom in on.
Yeah.
He gets his own one shot. I thought it was very funny.
That's super funny to me.
I mean, if I was a director, I'd do that shit too.
Yeah. For the scenes in the brothel that Stewart and Todd visit, so it is a brothel, Eli Roth wanted to film at an actual brothel, and so it was filmed at a place called Big Sister. Big Sister was famous for offering customers no charge to have sex with the sex workers if they agreed to wear a condom and to have it streamed live on the internet, which were viewed by paying subscribers.
Okay.
Yeah. It closed in 2010 and the website's no longer active.
Damn, that feels like really early on in like the live streaming days too. That's crazy. Because like Twitch wasn't really a thing until around that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's early on. It was probably Justin TV back in that time period.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
During one of the torture scenes, Roger Bart, who plays Stewart, says, "I'm fucking Hercules." And he actually provided the singing voice for young Hercules in the Disney movie Hercules.
No, Paige, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that is a fun fact.
Yeah. Similarly fun, Jay Hernandez, who is the lead from the first film that gets killed in this one, his fake corpse was reused in Eli Roth's Thanksgiving trailer from 2007, the one that played during Grindhouse, because he filmed the fake trailer in Slovakia during a day off for making this movie.
Nice. Okay.
So let's talk about Heather Matarazzo hanging upside down.
Okay.
They had given her an inversion machine to train on. So she was inverted every day for about a month and a half to get used to it.
Okay.
For about 2 minutes at a time, then up to 3, then up to 4. Eventually, she could hang upside down comfortably, or at least relatively comfortably, for 20 minutes.
Jesus, that's so long.
Yeah. So they took about a week to shoot that scene.
God, it was a whole week.
Well, she shot her part in 2 days.
Okay, that's still so long.
Yes, but she does say that everyone was actually very, very respectful about her having to do it naked and be upside down naked for that many days.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's good, especially for 2007. This is pre-intimacy coordinators and things like that. So
yeah.
But she did learn that there is a Czech saying that says, and I cannot pronounce this, Dobrý den, prasaven. I probably butchered that, but it means good day, tits out. And so when she took off her robe for the first time on the first day, she said that to everyone, and everyone laughed, and then it broke the tension, and it was a lot more comfortable.
That's great.
But yeah, she was hanging 15 feet in the air.
God.
And there are additional stirrups that her feet are in. So at one point she was supposed to wiggle around like a fish, but she started to slip out of the harness, and they thankfully got her down and tightened everything, and she made it great. But it was very, very tricky for her to film. But because of that scene, Hostel Part 2 was actually banned in 3 countries.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'll close with this last one. Ruggero Deodato is the director of the 1980 Cannibal Holocaust. is playing the cannibal in this film.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And Cannibal Holocaust, a controversial film that we have said we probably won't do because of a lot of the controversy surrounding it and some of the things that end up on the screen. But I do think it's pretty funny to have him play a cannibal.
Well, the actual animal murder, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's also a nice nod that, like, I understand why, and I don't like that they killed actual animals in it. I also get that at the time that wasn't illegal, and this guy was like, he pushed horror in a different direction.
There are other things in it too. It's not just the animals.
Sure.
But,
Yeah. I honestly have never seen it. I don't know. But like, I do think it's a cool nod to have him in the movie as a cannibal.
Have him as a cannibal.
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious. Yeah.
Even as much as I don't want to watch that movie because it has like whatever it has in it. But like, still, I think it's cool. It's a cool nod.
Yeah. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Hostel Part 2 in 2007 when it came out?
So I think they actually got more money for this than they did for the last one. And I was not on the last Hostel episode.
You weren't.
That was when I found it different.
Yes.
I wasn't on that one. So I don't know what that budget was, but I would say this probably cost 30 mil.
Okay. Paige, I'm happy to report this cost $7.5 million.
Good Lord. Good for you, Eli Roth.
I know, right?
Good for you.
He can do it.
Fuck yes.
Yeah. Now, if you adjust for inflation, that's $11.3 million today, but that's still pretty low, right?
Every cent of that is on the screen. Good for you.
Hostel Part 1, Paige, or the first Hostel movie, was 4.8, so less than this.
Good job there, too.
I know,
Fuck.
right? Yeah. Anyway, so this movie premiered the weekend of June 8th, 2007. It was 6th the weekend it came out. It was beat by Ocean's 13 was number 1. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End was number 2. Knocked Up was number 3. Surf's Up was number 4. Shrek the Third was number 5. And Hostel Part 2 was number 6. Paige, what do you think Hostel Part 2 brought in its opening weekend?
Ooh, I know that, and I may have to recuse myself from worldwide box office. I know this eventually tripled the box office return of the original.
Yeah, we'll talk about
which
it.
is wild because the original made a lot of money too. But I'm going to say opening weekend, this probably made $6 million.
Paige, it actually made $8.2 million.
Good for them.
Yeah, it did really well in its opening weekend. It was in theaters for a total of 4 weekends. In its second weekend, the weekend of June 15th, it was 8th in the theaters. And then it fell to 14th and 25th, and then was out of theaters. But what do you think it brought in domestically at the box office?
I'm going to say that domestically, this brings in 46.
Ooh, Paige, it was $17.5 million domestically.
Bummer summer. But
Bummer summer. It actually, I mean, that's more than its budget. So it brought in positive dollars. And then internationally, it brought in $16 million. So the total was $33.6 million worldwide. Which, if you adjust for inflation, is just over 50. It's almost $51 million, honestly.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, and it's brought in domestic DVD and Blu-ray sales. It's sitting at $16.8 million. Like, they've definitely made plenty of money off of this movie. But Paige, that is your box office. So Paige, do you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Todd, our scary scale is a scale from 1 to 10 about how scary we found the movie today, with 1 being Ghostbusters and 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Todd, where would you rank this film?
I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
There aren't a shitload of jump scares, but it's like, there's a lot of gross body horror, and that dick snatch is like real graphic.
I was cheering.
I mean, I was also sort of cheering, but like, it's hard to not see familiar sights and then sympathize on some level with what that might feel like.
That's fair.
In a full body cringe.
Yeah. I will also say, for me, I'm going to give this a 2 because of the body horror.
Fair. Yeah. There's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it. I do think, because our theme is summer vacation, but we have accidentally stumbled into a theme of dick snatching. So for listener requests, I'm going to give you the option of either or.
I love it.
Either summer vacation or dick snatches.
Bonus points for both.
Bonus points for both. That's your scary scale.
So this week, you made us watch Hostel Part 2. What are you making us watch next week while we're continuing? Did Paige just snatch that dude's dick summer?
Your next film is one that we kind of wanted to do while it was in theaters and didn't get to, and then didn't really have a theme month that fit with it. So we haven't done it yet, but I'm actually pretty excited to do it. It is Knock at the Cabin.
Okay. I don't know anything about this movie.
With Dave Bautista.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I guess so your homework for next week is to watch Knock at the Cabin with Dave Bautista.
that's right.
And then check back for that episode next week. Does someone snatch someone's dick in that movie, Paige?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. But there's plenty of dicks to be snatched, so we might get lucky. Todd, do you have a review for us?
I might. Let me see. In fact, first I will look up and see if we have any Spotify comments. And in fact, I know we do because I just approved some before we started recording. And this one is going to be from our most recent episode, which was the Exorcism of Emily Rose with Michael McMillan. This one's from Karen Rodriguez, and they say, Michael was such a fun guest. I hope to see him often. Great episode, as always. So thank you so much, Karen, for that. And I would love to have Michael on this or Romancing the Pod again.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
He was a marvelous guest. But let me see if we have any new Apple 5-star reviews. Yeah, and we do. And this week's Apple 5-star review is going to come in from Natalia0726. And they say, love it, exclamation point. The best horror movie podcast. You guys make me laugh so hard, smiley face. And honestly, I love myself some brevity in my reviews. So Natalia0726 and Karen, thank you so much for your review and Spotify comment. And if you want to have me read your Spotify comment or review, leave us one of those things and I will do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast, some might call it a sister podcast, called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back. And I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys, on Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah, have an amazing week, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Paige be out here snatching dicks all summer, nerds.
Give me your dick.
I'm definitely leaving that in, Paige. You know that, right?
Yeah, of course.